Yo, guys, welcome back to another movie review with the Game Hive family here. This is episode 2, Halloween 2, 1981. And you got the cast here behind me. I thought that was cool. We did that in the first one, so I did it in the second one. All right, guys, if you watched the last one, you know how this works. I'm just going to read through my notes that I made from rewatching the film for probably the 7,000th billion time. I don't know. Love the movie. I probably could have wrote the notes without it, but I like having the notes because then I can kind of go read through the movie as we go and talk about what I like, what I didn't like, stuff like that. So, without further ado, got my Michael Myers, I think it's a Japanese poster shirt. I don't know. If you know in the comments, let me know. It's beautiful. But, all right, guys, here we go. Halloween 2, 1981. Starting off the opening, the Mr. Sandman. It's classic. I love old music. Really fits the mood. Puts us right into the movie. Starting off right off the bat, it's the same night. Literally, you see the last scene of the previous film. You're going straight into it. I always love that. And I always like watching the first one like, oh, it's not over. I can pop in this next movie, you know? I love that so much. And then you got the pumpkin, the opening jack-o'-lantern title scene, where it splits apart and the skull's in there. Oh, my God. You gotta love that. And most people don't know, but I know who owns that. It's a prop. And it's giant. I think it's like 5 feet tall or something like that. And it splits open. It's getting old, but my friend owns it. It's pretty cool. The soundtrack. I don't want to say it's better than original, because how can you be better than original because you came from the original? But when I choose to listen to Halloween music, I typically pick Halloween 2, 1981, because, I don't know, it's got maybe a few more tunes. I don't know, I just love it. So, soundtrack, amazing. Still spooky, maybe even a little spookier, a little more 80s into it. And I think we can thank John Carpenter and Alan Howarth for that. So, for those that don't know this, the Sister Story was created just for Halloween 2. That didn't exist in Halloween 1. I know we'll have some people jumping here like, yeah, look at those scenes where they're talking at the in the court, or look where this and that. And it's like, no, actually, those scenes were shot in 1981 for the TV version of Halloween 78 to add a little plump and help the storyline for Halloween 2, in which none of these characters here, well, maybe him, these two didn't know until, well, we'll get to it in my notes when they find out. But you got Dick Warlock here behind the mask, which, by the way, is the same mask from the original. It was kept under a bed of Deborah. Deborah. Anyways, it was kept under a bed with smoke and all that, so it's a little yellowed. Hair's matted down. It's a lot grungier from the last film, but same one. He wears it. That's the stuntman. And Michael Myers also plays a policeman, the one that runs over Ben Tramer, which we'll also get into later. But I think he does a great job. It's a little different than the last Michael Myers. He moves a little, maybe stiffer, but nonetheless, it's beautiful. I love it. So after your opening scene there, you got Michael walking through what I believe is the middle. Well, I've actually been there, so I know what it really is. But it's like a middle cut-through alleyway. There's some of those around here. I've actually used them to film in. I love those, especially when you're doing a night scene. Just because of this movie, it just makes it awesome. It's spooky, scary. You got that straight cut through. Michael staring at the sheriff and them. about to start his whole next part of his night, and I just love that scene. He comes across a family watching Night of the Living Dead, which, by the way, they could play that because there's no rights to that movie. And John Carpenter was friends with George Romero, who made that movie. And then he grabs his knife, which they call... shit. Is it the Elrod knife? I'm sorry, I just totally blacked out there. Anyways, he gets his knife, gets out, runs into a girl, kills her. You got your first kill of the movie. When I was a kid, that first kill there for this movie really kind of made me jump almost every time. Now I watch it and I'm like, well, not so much. Not my favorite kill. Now I question a little bit, like, why did he do that? But it's Michael Myers. It's not in his path. He just decided. But I like to think maybe he was like, you know what? Sirens are coming. I need somewhere to hide really quick. And he kills her, hides in there. Because that's almost immediately you hear the sirens coming. He goes in that house. Bam. Kills her. Now he's got time. Time to hide or heal. So now you get introduced to, because you're at the crime scene, you get introduced to Jimmy and Bud, who are, I guess, main characters. You're going to see them much more throughout the film now, which I always loved. So I could get in that point of view of of Jimmy and Bud taking the bodies, taking Laurie. Pretty fun there. This is where you get your first picture of Haddonfield Memorial Hospital, or as we know it, HMH. And I always like that because if you've ever been to a hospital at night, it's spooky, right? I've been there more than once at nighttime. I always imagine I'm at HMH. And also, for those who don't know, I worked on Halloween Kills as a set PA. And the first day I was on set, I drive to set with my buddy Steven, who also works on movies and helped me get on this film. We drive up the set and it's literally Haddonfield Memorial Hospital, like modern day for Halloween Kills. It's literally like just beautiful. And if you've seen the movie, it really does fit the bill. And I just love it. So, so the next thing you see is a razor blade in the kid's mouth. As a kid, I was always told, and I'm sure you guys were too, and we hear it all the time with drugs and weed and needles and stuff like that now. Never seen it, knock on wood, but it's always been a thing. And yeah, you should be precautious. I don't know why we're talking about this, but whatever. So, I always thought this was crazy. Doctor's drunk. It's the only doctor in town, but I guess if it's a little town like Haddonfield, very possible. The next thing you see is Brackett is blaming Loomis. And I always thought that was pretty prevalent in this. And it happens a lot in life too. Brackett's blaming Loomis for Myers' escape. And he's, damn you for letting him out. But I always thought that was crazy because obviously he didn't do it. And he told people to watch out. But it's always the person who had nothing to do with it, had no control over it, that gets blamed. Like victim shaming, which we'll talk about more when we do the Halloween Ends with Laurie. All right, anyways. The next scene you see is Ben Tramer. Ben Tramer's walking down the street. Loomis and the sheriff are in the car. He pulls the gun on Ben. Ben takes across the street, and then Dick Warlock as a cop. Check it out if you didn't know that. Runs into him, kills him, he burns away. They think it's Michael Myers. Obviously, we know it's not. Quick thing here. I always forget to ask. I always want to ask Sean Clark. He's like a Halloween expert. Do we know who played Ben Tramer? I don't think it was Dick Warlock, because the mask looks skinnier in that, but I don't know. Um, quick note, guys. The hair you see here is not Jamie Lee Curtis's hair. By this time, she had already chopped off her hair, as we know it today. Her basically, I don't know. She's got like 2 inches of hair, 1 inch of hair, whatever you want to. At this time, she already had cut all that off, and they had to get a wig for filming. You can kind of see in the movie, but I never knew that as a kid watching on VHS. Oh, and at this point, you're seeing Michael stroll through the streets of Haddonfield. You got kids bouncing around. Dick Warlock's son with the radio on his shoulder. That's another little tidbit. Some of you guys probably know that. Some of you might not. I always love that, and I've actually been to those more than once when I went to Pasadena or LA, I guess you could say. Because not everything's in Pasadena, but outside and nearby Pasadena. Michael sees the hospital sign. Now he's heading towards the hospital. Once he gets to the hospital, one of my favorite scenes and parts of this film, not really parts, but just a little snippet, whatever you want to call it. The girls get to the hospital. Michael's standing in the rearview mirror when they shut the door. Creepy as shit. Probably the best that mask looked in the whole movie. Now you get introduced to Bud. And how much of a dick he is. And they're trying to make us hate him. Although he's kind of likable as, antagonist, dick, douchebag. But yeah, you get introduced to that big time. My favorite is always if you watch the TV version and he says, she's full of sugar instead of shit. We were just talking about that yesterday, me and my kids and my kid's mom. So next we got the hospital's decorated in these old, well, now they're old retro, but they're my favorite style decorations, like the paper cutouts and stuff like that, the old retro stuff. I love that. So if you're watching it again next time, you've never seen any of that or really paid attention, look at them. You don't see stuff like that. Well, I guess you do now because everybody likes retro stuff. At this point, Michael's in the hospital, and now he goes in and he hides with the babies, which I always thought was crazy. I'm like, damn, where'd they get? I guess maybe they got 20 babies and the casting call, or I don't know. Crazy to me. And another thing, I always wondered, when the hospital explodes, did the babies die? Did they get the babies out? There's a shit ton of babies in that hospital just sitting there by themselves. But anyways, it's a movie and that doesn't matter. At this point, by the way, these two do not know that he is her brother. So, if you didn't know that, you're about to. And yes, I realize this is a super old movie. I'm just pointing out for people who didn't know, in the original was never his sister. They try to call Laurie's parents. This is something I always wondered about. Is Laurie's parents dead? Did they die in a car wreck? Were they drunk? Were they missing? Did Michael Myers go kill them? As a kid, I always assumed Michael went back to the house and killed them, and they didn't show it. Obviously, in the remake, they did go back to the house. He did go to the house and kill the parents. You get your next kill scene here with Mr. Garrett, the security guard, which I have met him in real life. Very nice guy. Brutal kill. This always used to make me, I could feel it. I can hear it and I could feel it every time it happens. The hammer to the head. Nasty shit. You don't even really see it, but it sticks in real quick and you get that dink. Oh. And then you skip to the Myers house, which they use the same house, obviously, for this one. The whole town is outside, which this gets referenced in Halloween Kills. But instead of chanting, everyone's hated chant, which we'll talk about that in Halloween Kills review. They're just being loud, throwing rocks through the window and stuff like that. I always love that. Always love that part. And you get introduced to Deputy Hunt, which I love. I'm sad his character was never back in any other movie, but I love him as a character. I always wish Halloween 4 and 5 would have had Deputy Hunt as the sheriff. They mentioned Ben Tramer's missing, which obviously we know he got ran over. Well, he got baked. So Bud plays a trick on the nurse at this point and buzzes the buzzer. Along with the babies that we just mentioned, I always wondered, is there other patients in this hospital? They didn't show any, nothing like that. In the remakes, we did get to see another patient dead. Everybody was dead. But I always wondered that. Maybe it's empty, maybe it's nothing going on, but the buzzer does go off later. I don't know. All right, so next one we get is the hot tub scene. Obviously, everybody likes the nudity, but as a kid, I didn't really like this one. I don't know why. I don't know, something about the burning face always made me sit wrong, I guess. I just never liked it. And then you see Bud in the background get killed before that. But I always thought it was disgusting because she's licking his hand. Basically, his hand's disgusting, covered in dirt and blood. And then we go to the classroom where we start to see a little bit of the story about the sister for the first time, which really, I guess you could say, oh, he's talking about Judith because he wrote sister on the wall, which one of the scenes in the 78, which they made just for this film, basically, was they went to his room in the sanitarium and he wrote sister. Also, the first time we hear of Sam Hain, spoken by him, although now we know it's Salwin. First time we hear about that, and we don't hear about that again until Halloween 6, I believe. So, well, maybe Halloween 3, but we'll get to there. All right, so next thing we know, well, one thing. Also, Michael's nurse makes another appearance in her second film, by the way. And then anyways, now we skip to Laurie's now in a coma. Her eyes are open, but she's not moving. They freak out. They're trying to find the doctors. Now everything's going wrong. Obviously, the phones are already cut. In my opinion, Laurie was always playing coma so she could get away and no one would bother her. I don't know. Maybe she was in a coma. Maybe she woke up. But in my opinion, she was playing the coma and starting to be smart so she can get away and hide instead of being stuck in that bed where everybody's going to keep her down or put her to sleep again. Next day you see they find Dr. Mixter with the, I guess, needle in his eye. I think it's a needle. And then you get the needle to the temple, which I always feel that too. Instant headache or sharp pain in my brain every time I watch that kill. Next thing you know, we got Michael coming into Laurie's room, which we just mentioned she escaped now. And he violently stabs the pillow, and then, in my opinion, actually gets mad, and you can see it in his movements, because she's not there, and he grabs the pillow or the sheet or whatever, and now he's got to go find her again. And And then you got Jimmy finds Nurse Alv's off-screen death, but it's beautifully displayed like Michael does with his art. And she's drip dry blood. Jimmy turns to run, slips into blood. The screech alone is enough to make you feel the pain that Jimmy feels when he hits the ground and busts his head. Now Jimmy's out for the count at the moment. Which, as a kid, I'm always like, yay, we got the hero, Jimmy. And then he's gone. Alright, so at this point, Michael has slashed all the tires and I think cut the brake lines, or at least punctured something. And now there's fluid everywhere. Tires are down on all the cars, and there's no way to escape. As we see when the nurse went outside. At this point, she runs back in, runs into Lori. Lori's mute at this point. Sees Michael behind her. Doesn't get to say anything. Nurse gets stabbed in the back with a scalpel, and Michael shows his strength, lifts her up off the ground, and her nurse Crocs fall. Which, by the way, I know who owns those too. I know. Useless knowledge. But anyways. Also, well, we'll talk about favorite kill at the end, but I love that part. And now, once again, we got the shape stalks again, and now he's chasing Lori. Finally has his prey, and he's ready to go. Lori escapes. She goes downstairs, climbs through a window, gets outside eventually. Well, gets in an elevator, then gets outside. She goes and hides in the car. Jimmy comes. Jimmy passes out because he hit his noggin. Smacks the horn. You see Myers again around the corner with the red, which I always love that part. Loomis pulls up. Well, I guess I'm doing this a little out of order, but anyways, Loomis and the nurse and the state patrol officer pull up. She couldn't get any words out again because she's weak. Finally screams when they get inside. Now she gets chased to the hospital door where Michael's in pursuit. We're getting very close to the end here, guys. Stick with me. I know I'm getting a little tongue-tied. Hopefully this one's a little better than the last one, by the way. I know the last one was a little weird. Never done one of these, so. Also, I did skip a part. I did. Previous to them getting there, because they actually turned around and came back. And the nurse tells Loomis he didn't know about a secret file, and he said he knows everything, which he was wrong. They kept it from him that Lori is his sister, and she was born just previous to the killings or right during that time frame, and no one knew, and she got adopted by the Strodes. So, first time we know ever that is the sister, and that's when they introduced that, and bam, whole new storyline to deal with. Anyways, now we get back to where I was. Michael walks through the glass door. Loomis shoots him. The officer tries to check on him. Loomis tells him no. Sends the nurse outside to go get on the radio. Last time we see her, by the way. Well, maybe we see her outside. I can't remember. Police officer checks again like a dummy. Gets his throat slit. Now it's on. Loomis and Lori go hide in the back in, I guess, the surgery room. Michael breaks the door again, showing his super strength. Comes through the door. Loomis tries to shoot. He's out of bullets. He already gave the other gun to Lori. Loomis gets stabbed in the belly, I believe. It's the belly or the chest, but probably the belly. Lori now shoots him in the eyes. And actually, if you guys watch this, I like to explain why in 4 and 5 and 6 and 7 and 8, Michael still has eyes. Even though in like 4 and 5 you couldn't see him because they had black screens on their eyes. But anyways, if you look close in this scene, when the blood's dripping down, it's pouring from up here. And you can see the drips shooting down because there's tubes coming right here. And it's shooting down. I like to explain that maybe she shot and it went up. So, it's a movie. It doesn't matter anyway. So he can do whatever he wants. Now Loomis tells her to get out, turns the gas on, and lights a match, sending Michael and him to Kingdom Come, or at least we think, because obviously he shows up later, and so does Michael. But anyways, Laurie's in the hallway hiding, flames shooting out. Michael comes out, which, yes, that was Dick Warlock in a flame suit. Laurie escapes. Michael falls. The mask melts. And that's the end. It's now daytime. You see the ambulances, the cops, and the town, and the news, and everything else. And that's supposed to be the end of The Shape, Dr. Loomis, and the storyline, which we'll get into more down the road. But anyways, guys, let's go ahead. My favorite kill, Nurse Jill. That's the one I said she got stabbed in the back with a scalpel and lifted up. That's probably my favorite of this film. I thought Dick Warlock. Let me know in the chat, by the way, guys, what your favorite kill was. And now what you thought about Dick Warlock here as Michael Myers. I thought he did a great job. Nothing really about it. I mean, he's always known as one of the best Michael Myers, next to Nick Castle. And I'll do that in another video, ranking the Myers, I guess, and the costumes and the masks and blah, blah, blah. Anyways, does this movie make you guys feel like it's Halloween? Does it get you in the mood? It is a must-watch for me at any time of the year, but also of the whole Halloween franchise. It's really one of my go-tos. Like, am I feeling like I need the old Halloween feel? Pop in 1981. Is this one of your top Halloween films? Answer that for me in the chat as well, guys. For me, it is top 6. And again, I won't rank those right now, but it's definitely top 6 for me. And for me, in my opinion, you can't rate anything perfect. There's always a little something somewhere. I rate this movie about an 8 or a 9. And I can't really, there's not a lot of flaws. I mentioned anything I thought was a flaw in there. Everything has flaws. There's little issues here and there. But for me, this film, especially being one of the older ones, you can't really go wrong. So once we get into some of the other sequels, there's stuff I don't like more and more. But this one I love. Highly recommend it to anybody that's never really watched Halloween films. And I almost guarantee you everyone watching this has. But maybe they're not a huge fan. But hopefully you guys enjoyed some of those tidbits that I talked about. Hopefully you guys enjoyed the review. And mostly I just hope you guys like talking in the comments, because the last film was great. Last film review we did was great. And again, this is episode 2. The next episode, I know we're going way out of line here, is going to be Halloween Ends, because I already took the notes. I just got to make the video. And I want to get that out for the next one. So, all right, guys. As always, thank you so much. Make sure you hit the like button for me. Hit the sub button if you haven't. I got tons of content on this channel. I got more on the way. Different stuff here and there. Gaming stuff, movie stuff, everything, okay? Game High forever, and I'll see you on episode 3.